Governments from around the globe have been meeting with Ripple. A decision about the European Central Bank digital euro is set to be made by the ECB. Will XRP and Ripple be involved? Alright, let's go into the details. Christine Lagarde provided us with some fresh information on all that is happening. First, we will show this clip from Chris Larsson. Does anyone still think that Ripple's meetings with governments around the world over the years are a coincidence? Asks digital asset investor. XRP is not your typical digital asset, and Ripple is not your typical business. We made an effort to explain and demonstrate that this is for the digital, all marble, lock-in. We may not have the infrastructure to stop the next financial disaster 10 years after the last one. And I believe that here is where digital assets may be quite helpful because they can effectively address some of the major issues with global liquidity. To get past the clumsiness of the global value transfer, you have trillions and trillions of dollars locked up in liquidity. You can now free up trillions of dollars of capital that are currently tied up if you have a truly efficient digital asset, like XRP, which is what we think will be the most efficient. As a bank, payment processor, business, etc., you can make those transfers instantaneously, without needing to have funds spread out over the globe. We could have allowed Lehman Brothers to fail in 2008 if we had known that it would have only caused a $9 billion market failure. Or the government may have provided a bailout, or it could have been sold by the government. The lack of transparency would have prevented some policy alternatives from being available. And this is what I want to say. Shortly after Lehman Brothers' demise, I came upon Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper, which suggested an essentially worldwide online log of all transactions. We would have known instantly if Lehman Brothers' exposures had all been recorded on a digital ledger. And you know what? A crisis would not have occurred, because the fog of battle would have caused us to experience crises. The location of the exposure rate is unknown. We could have prevented a crisis if we had known about all the exposure and it had been recorded in an unchangeable ledger. Resilience is a key characteristic of a strong liquid market. This pertains to a market's capacity to bounce back from a major systemic catastrophe. Why does it seem that Ripple has the key to unlocking this future and preventing us from repeating the mistakes of the 2008 financial crisis? That will be unlocked by blockchain technology. And who is the world's most reputable blockchain infrastructure provider? You must realize that the United States is not the only country involved. In addition to the UK, you are also discussing Europe, Australia, South America, Mexico, and Canada. It is found worldwide. World leaders are aware of the company Ripple, what it is, and the potential of the digital asset XRP to boost their economy. The next financial crisis will target XRP, and the question mark is meant to convey that we are doing everything in our power to foresee, avert, and investigate the conditions that would truly lead to such a catastrophe, rather than attempting to create or trigger, just really fast. There isn't much faith in central bankers, and blockchain will help restore some of that trust for the general people. However, you must alert individuals to the possibility of a catastrophe if you're attempting to get everyone on a new system. You then fabricate the situation yourself behind the scenes, correct? Blockchain, crisis, problem, and solution. And when considering the subject, I believe we need to remember two things. First, the global financial system has undergone continuous change since the end of World War II, and technological advancements have further sped up this process. Secondly, what looks novel frequently just reflects old hazards in a different form and with a different costume. This is different from the previous financial catastrophe, yet it reminds me of Professor Carmen Reiner and Kenneth Rogoff. No, it's different is a telling subtitle for the book. 8 Centuries of Financial Foolishness, it adds. I believe that after 8 centuries of experience, it is always the same this time. And for that reason, research is so crucial to maintaining financial stability. Research puts potential risks into greater focus so that policymakers may handle them proactively and, ideally, foresee and prevent them. It also helps us recognize how innovation grows and reshapes the economy through rigorous analysis and a thorough grasp of the past. Research is especially important for understanding the ramifications of the significant changes that have reshaped the financial system since the global financial crisis, which is a relatively short period of time when comparing the 8th century to the last 15 years or so. The expansion of non-bank financial institutions, rather than banks, has been one of the main structural changes in the financial system over the last 20 years. Who do you think non-bank financial institutions are? Well, there will be a bank soon, but whatever. I was interested in learning more about how XRP might be used to avert the next financial catastrophe. And the research is this. Governments around the world can use XRP to improve financial stability, transparency, and systemic stability by acting as a vital liquidity buffer and averting future financial crises. XRP can be used by governments and central banks to replace expensive and ineffective nostro-vostro accounts. Utilizing XRP as a bridge asset to release trillions of dollars in idle global cash for beneficial purposes. Cross-border settlements might happen right away, minimizing systemic delays and making sure that money flows quickly during these volatile economic times. During this crisis, the global financial infrastructure is more resilient due to the quick availability of liquidity. Real-time tracking and unchangeable records of all financial transactions are made possible by blockchain technology transparency and the government's adoption of XRP ledgers. The risk associated with opaque shadow banking operations is greatly decreased by blockchain-based transparency, which enhances auditors' and regulators' capacity to track financial transactions, identify anomalies, and guarantee compliance, and dishonest actions that have caused financial collapses in the past. Crisis interventions and emergency liquidity are discussed. If XRP is more widely accepted and has higher valuations, it can help stabilize the market and possibly lessen the need for taxpayer-funded bailouts in times of systemic distress by giving organizations Gruppe, which has the largest reserve, a sizable war chest for crisis response. Like gold or foreign currencies, governments may also utilize XRP holdings as digital reserves to swiftly intervene in markets when necessary. Cross-jurisdictional integration is discussed. State and federal administrations, as well as foreign organizations, can easily integrate payment procedures because of XRP's interoperability. Coordinated responses to global shocks are hampered by this standardized architecture, which removes operational and technological silos. The XRP ledger's tokenization of assets, currencies, bonds, and commodities facilitates deep liquidity and quick settlement, which makes it simpler for governments to take part in coordinated financial interventions. Long-term crisis prevention and a strategic reserve. In an effort to diversify and improve their response capabilities, some countries are now thinking about including XRP in their digital asset reserves. The legal inclusion of XRP in reserves solidifies its function as a safeguard against market disruptions, bolstering the long-term policy move towards the robustness of digital banking. There's so much amazing stuff happening here, man. Here is Christine Lagarde discussing the future of the European reaction at this present event. Hi there, happy morning. Today, I'm in Copenhagen, where the Eurogroup and ECOFIN are meeting. It's casual. This does not imply that we lack formality, but our conversations will not result in official conclusions or decisions. Nevertheless, it is an excellent chance to talk about the state of the economy. In addition to discussing our digital euro, we will also compare and remark on our projections with the Commission. And I fervently hope that the finance ministers can agree on the thresholds and the ceiling. These are technical matters, but they are vital to the development of our digital euro. Thus, pay attention, keep an eye out, okay? Additionally, the DTCC is setting the standard by fusing the creativity of